You know, when you think global empire, it brings to mind, like, I don't know, sprawling estates, maybe a fleet of private jets, that kind of thing. But today, we're diving into a different kind of empire, the fascinating world of the Tata family.
And when you say different, we're talking about an empire built on, well, steel, software, even salt, believe it or not.
And of course, you can't forget the tea.
Yeah, the tea. Can't have a Tata conversation without mentioning the tea.
Exactly. Though I have to admit, the Tata name, I mostly just think of tea. But their reach...
Oh, it goes way beyond that.
It's incredible, actually. We've been going through all this info on the family, and it's like articles, company profiles.
Their company portfolio is massive.
And the family tree, oh my gosh, talk about complicated.
We're like a tangled vine, really.
Yes, exactly. So we're here to, I guess, untangle it all.
That's a good way to put it.
To try and understand how this family went from, you know, what seems like pretty humble beginnings to becoming...
Synonymous with Indian industry. And it all starts, you know, with this guy, Jamshedji Tata, back in the mid-1800s.
Okay, so mid-19th century. What's the scene like then?
So picture this. India under British rule. And here's Jamshedji, daring to envision this. A nation powered by its own industries. Industries that could rival the West.
That's a bold vision.
Bold is an understatement.
Especially for that time.
Right.
And what strikes me is it's not just about, you know, building a business for him.
Oh, it's much bigger than that.
It's like he wants to build an entire...
This industrial landscape.
Yeah. But here's what I find really interesting. Jamshedji, he wasn't just driven by profit.
Which is unusual, especially for the time.
For sure. But he believed in, you know, using his wealth to actually make a difference.
Uplift society.
Yeah, and that spirit, that's something you see throughout the entire Tata story, even today.
Absolutely. And it's not just like some side project for them. You know what I mean?
Like a token donation to charity.
Exactly. It's literally woven into the entire structure of the Tata Group. So you've got Tata Sons. That's their holding company.
Okay.
A significant portion of it isn't owned by shareholders looking for their next payout. It's owned by philanthropic trusts.
Whoa. Hold on. So you're telling me that is Selden, a big chunk of the profits from this massive conglomerate.
And we're talking billions, by the way.
Billions, right. So a huge chunk of that goes right back into social good.
That's exactly right.
Wow.
We're talking major initiatives here. Healthcare, education, poverty alleviation.
It's a level of commitment I don't think I've ever seen before.
It's rare, very rare.
That's fascinating. So it makes you wonder, if their business decisions aren't just driven by profit, does that give them like a competitive advantage?
Potentially.
In terms of ethical business?
Yeah, it's definitely something to consider.
So we've got this incredible legacy, this commitment to social good.
Which is rooted in the family itself.
Right, the family.
And as you mentioned earlier, that family tree, woof.
Where do we even begin with that?
Well, let's start with Jamshedji. He has two sons.
Right. Okay, I'm with you.
Garabji and Ratanji.
Garabji and Ratanji.
Garabji, he was the eldest. He becomes chairman after his father and becomes this, like, captain of industry.
He follows right in his father's footsteps.
He really does. He expands the Tata empire, establishes some of their most enduring companies.
And what about Ratanji, the other son?
So Ratanji's path is a bit different.
How so?
He's also a businessman, but he's really known for his dedication to social reform.
Interesting.
He was a huge advocate for India's working class.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Even challenged practices within his own family's businesses.
Now that takes guts.
He was determined to improve working conditions.
Wow, the commitment to social justice. It runs deep in this family.
It's in their DNA.
But there's more to Ratanji's story, right?
Right.
Because he adopts his son, Naval.
Exactly. Ratanji and his wife, Navajbai, they couldn't have children of their own.
And they choose Naval.
Naval was a distant relative who had fallen on hard times.
That's incredible.
It shows their compassion and their desire to uplift, even within their own family.
So you have a Naval, this young boy, brought into this incredibly powerful family.
But he's got this unique perspective
on both privilege and hardship.
Absolutely.
That has to shape you as a person.
Right.
I mean, what kind of man did he become?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Naval's story. It's an incredible one. He ends up leading several Tata companies.
So he rises within the ranks.
He does. But he never forgets where he came from. He becomes a huge champion for workers' rights.
Really?
Not just within Tata, but internationally. Naval actually receives the Padma Bhushan,
which is
one of India's highest civilian honors.
some poverty. to leading a branch of this industrial giant, all while fighting for social justice. It's like something out of a movie.
It really is remarkable.
But I can't help but wonder, how did this impact his relationship with the rest of the family?
It's a great question.
And how did it influence the future of the Tata Group?
We'll definitely have to unpack that.
We'll have to come back to that.
It really is quite a story. And you're right to be curious about Naval's impact. He had 3 sons, each of them kind of carving their own path within the Tata legacy. But the one you're probably most familiar with is Ratan Tata.
No, absolutely. Ratan Tata, that name.
It's practically synonymous with the Tata Group today.
It really is.
At least their modern global presence.
For sure.
His time as chairman,
Right.
from 91 to 2012, it was transformative.
What were some of the things that he did to kind of make that happen? Because he inherited this incredible foundation, but then he really took it to the next level.
He did. He steered the Tata Group to becoming this truly global force.
What were some of the key moves there?
Well, I mean, the acquisition of Jaguar Land Rover.
Oh, yeah.
That was huge.
That was big news.
2008, right in the middle of this global recession. Tata Motors, under Ratan Tata's leadership, they acquired Jaguar Land Rover from Ford.
That's a bold move.
Incredibly bold.
Especially at that time.
People were questioning it.
Oh, I bet.
You know, it's one thing to buy this prestigious brand, but to turn it around during such economic uncertainty.
Right. It's a whole other ballgame.
Exactly. But that's where Ratan Tata's leadership, it
Yep.
really shines through. He understood.
Yeah.
You can't just come in and make wholesale changes. You have to preserve the heritage.
You're talking about Jaguar Land Rover.
Right. Their British identity, their design ethos. Tata provided the resources, the guidance, but they allowed a degree of autonomy.
And it worked.
It did. Today, Jaguar Land Rover. It's thriving.
It's a great example of how to navigate these global acquisitions.
Respect the brand, but integrate it into this larger vision.
Right. But we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about, these big family businesses. There's often conflict,
No, absolutely.
power struggles.
Almost inevitable.
Right.
Especially with empires of this scale.
Exactly.
And the Tata Group is no stranger to these internal disputes.
And the biggest one that comes to mind is Cyrus Mystery, right?
Yeah, it's Cyrus Mystery.
That's where I get my understanding of the family tree gets a little fuzzy.
It's a bit complicated. So, Cyrus Mystery's family, the Mysteries, they held a significant share in Taco Sons through their construction firm, Shapoorji Pallonji Group.
All right.
They were actually the largest shareholder outside of the Tata trusts themselves.
So another powerful family,
Very much so.
but intertwined with the Tatas.
Through business.
And so when Ratan Tata steps down in 2012,
It was Cyrus Mystery who was chosen as his successor.
wow.
He'd been on the board for a few years, but this was a landmark decision. The first time that someone outside the immediate Tata family was given the reins.
So a potential shift in direction,
For sure.
but it didn't last.
No. Mystery's tenure, he was short-lived and tumultuous, to say the least.
What happened?
He's chairman for less than 4 years before he's ousted by the board.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It became very public. Very acrimonious.
So what was the reason?
Officially, the board said, they were concerned about Mystery's performance,
Yeah.
his management style. They argued that he wasn't adapting to the changing business landscape, that his decisions were impacting profitability.
Interesting.
But Mystery, he had the different take.
I bet he did.
He claimed that he was being targeted for trying to bring more transparency,
Okay.
more accountability, that he was challenging the old guard.
So whose vision for the future of the Tata Group won out?
It seems like the old guard had the stronger hand. The board sided with them. And Ratan Tata actually briefly returned as interim chairman.
Wow, so they really brought him back.
They did. But then Nakarajan Chandrasekaran, he was a Tata veteran. He was appointed in 2017.
So they were navigating some choppy waters there.
Definitely a turbulent time.
So where does this leave the Tata Group today?
Well, they're still standing.
That's good. But how have they recovered from this, and what's their trajectory looking like now?
I think it's safe to say they've recovered. They've weathered that storm. And today, the Tata Group, under Chandrasekaran, they're really focused on a few key things.
Like what?
Consolidation, for one. They're also really trying to strengthen their digital presence.
Mm-hmm.
And they're expanding things like renewable energy
Yeah.
and technology more broadly.
So they're honoring the legacy,
Absolutely.
but also adapting.
Have to. The world's changing fast.
It really is. And speaking of legacy, we can't forget about, that commitment to social good, that philanthropic core. Has that taken a backseat to all this, global expansion?
Not at all. If anything, it's even more important now.
How so?
Well, think about it. The world's facing some serious challenges.
Climate change, social inequality.
Exactly. And the Tata trusts,
Mm-hmm.
with all their resources, their experience, they're stepping up.
It's not just about the money, though, is it?
You're right, it's more than that.
They're actively trying to find solutions.
In healthcare, education, poverty alleviation, you name it.
It's remarkable.
It really is.
What are some of the, most impactful things they're doing?
Oh, there are so many. The Tata Memorial Center for Cancer Care.
I've heard of that.
It's one of the largest cancer centers in the world. Provides world-class care.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't turn anyone away.
Regardless of their ability to pay.
Exactly.
Wow, that's amazing.
And then there's the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research.
Okay, what do they do?
It's a research institute responsible for, some of India's top scientific minds.
So they're tackling these huge problems.
Head on.
From cutting-edge research to healthcare.
And it's not just India either.
Oh, right, they've gone global.
The Tata trusts are involved in all sorts of international initiatives.
Like what?
A lot of it focuses on sustainability, water conservation, sanitation, things that affect everyone.
It's really pretty incredible. The Tata family, they've shown that business success and social responsibility.
They can go hand in hand.
Yeah, and their story. From those humble beginnings to this global powerhouse.
It's inspiring.
It really is. It makes you think about, the role of business in the world, the power of philanthropy.
And the legacy that one family can create.
Well, that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive into the Tata family empire. It's a story full of, twists and turns.
And ambition.
And a commitment to making a difference. It leaves us with a lot to think about. How can businesses be a force for good? How do we balance tradition and innovation in a rapidly changing world? These are questions we all face. And the Tata story, it gives us a lot to consider. From all of us here, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. And we'll see you next time.